I'll start recording. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Mary, it'd be lovely to get a brief introduction on your background, and then we'll dive right into your presentation on generative AI for sales and customer experiences.
Yes, first of all, thanks for the invite. And I already put down the topic here and a small explanation what it would mean to a child. But what about me? Well, I come from a marketing background and went further into generative AI or AI machine learning, where I work now. And I have experience from brand marketing at Red Bull. And right now I work as at a machine learning AI consultancy.
What was your experience like at Red Bull?
I was in the headquarter as in global brand marketing,
Wow.
where I got a deep dive into all the details of brand marketing, on how the professionals do it, what makes the difference, and that's actually where I also found more or less my passion to be also the bridge or the person that's translating the technology stuff, so to say, to the normal people, and how to make a difference in branding in general. Because you see a lot of marketing applications that are basic. You see a lot of people expecting a marketeer to be everything. Whereas the small little details do make the difference. And that's better there. I continued then with a master in data-driven design. That's where I have the tech background from, where I developed an empathic chatbot that helped men to purchase high heels, which is a very specific use case. And that's basically how I got to where I am right now.
Fantastic. God, yeah, no, that must be really complex. How do you advise a man to buy high heels? Like what sort of data do you have to ask them, and how do you like bring in the empathy if they're, this is their first time doing it? And
I'm describing it actually on the second slide, also on the following ones. It is always a problem for marketeers to understand who you're actually talking to. This is, I think, the main problem. People expect you to know the needs and wants of a person you have never talked to, you have never seen, and that's where a lot of things go wrong. Consumers don't really get the information they want to see. What you see on the left side, they usually have an information overload, talking of TikTok, for example. Right now, you get so much information, and the younger generation is used to having this targeted already to what they want. The algorithm knows them, and this is also what people expect. All the irrelevant information is just, it's just scaring your consumer away, basically. And what is mentioned below, the marketeer problem, is what I also described a little bit. You usually only communicate with people in your bubble. You don't know people outside your bubble. I had the problem with last time with investors. I am not an investor myself. I don't know that many investors personally, but it's expected of me to know what investors want and what they do. This is a big problem. Also understanding different cultures. I am myself not working in the country where I was brought up, so understanding the market here sometimes can be challenging. And also, last but not least, what I mentioned a little bit with Red Bull is, how do you create actually a difference in your marketing, in your communication, what people want to hear. Then I thought about, okay, what can you actually do about all these problems as we see it now? And you have to start low. Like, you first need to understand what your product is. You cannot automate anything if you don't know how it works without automation. So you need to be really aware of the business processes of the company you work at, what customer you're actually talking to, and what does he do when he makes a purchase. So you have to be aware of that. But that can also just be assumptions. So I'm talking to an investor and I believe, okay, an investor is usually someone above 40. Then you need to gather data. You need to understand, okay, where are these people located? How old are they actually? And who is actually important to the business? Who brings in the revenue eventually? And then you can I usually use ChatGPT to understand these people more and to be able to personalize messages, to find the right tone, to communicate in the right manner. And then there is the why. Why would you want to do that? Well, we see if you personalize your messages, it can reduce your acquisition costs. It's more likely to leave to be memorized by people. It lifts your revenues, and it's way more efficient to work like this. Also, consumers kind of expect the experiences to be tailored to them already. So this just opens many doors for you as a marketeer. And telling the why to your manager usually helps to get the first steps going, to make things easier for you to be able to be working with generative AI, because that's what they care about. They want to make things easier, they want to make things faster, and eventually get more revenue. Going to the next one. What do I see myself like as in generative AI in consumer experience? I try to put this in different buckets. So one is just getting data. I used it a lot for engaging with customers in service. Surveys are usually, well, not a lot of people are filling out these surveys because they're getting bored by it. It's not tailored to them, but you can use ChatGPT to make it more interesting, to have people more engaged, to write in the tone of voice. It doesn't make sense to write in a corporate tone of voice to creative millennial. It would totally not resonate and you wouldn't get a lot of replies. And once you have replies, let's say you have some data to work with, you can go to the next bucket of analyzing this historical data to, for example, identify patterns or pain points in your consumers. One example, what I used it for is event feedback. I gathered it from forums and then put it all into ChatGPT to actually have pointed out what I could do better for the next event, and it worked out very well. Content creation is another point. I think the most common one of creating content that is targeted or suited to the actual group of people you're talking to, tailoring to the style and the tone of voice. And especially conversational, when it's in the middle of a conversation and you just want to give the right answer, can differ very much from the different target groups. And as probably seen a lot of times on LinkedIn, there are a lot of companies in generative AI right now. For my personal stack, I use ChatGPT, Midjourney, Writer, and Descript. However, I believe that ChatGPT and Midjourney will serve most of the purposes.
And could I ask what Writer and Descript do?
Yes, Writer is for content writing, and I used that before ChatGPT was available. So it's also based on large language models, and I used it for blog writing. So this was the case of, I took 40 minutes to write a blog post of 500 words for basically just SEO reasonings. There was no real value added through the content itself. and writer could just do it within a minute. And I, of course, had to proofread it because I believe that is very important to, at this point, have a human in the loop to check it, and you save a lot of time, make things easier, and you have the work done way faster. This script helped me with transcribing. So it's a really nice platform to upload videos to, or interviews, and it just gives you a script of the content.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really like them. Yeah, and when you want to customize sales pitch, I had that last time. We have 4 different user groups in the company I work at right now. So the way of communicating, interacting is very different for each of those. And it's starting basically the same way I already described, is you gather data from your CRM systems, understanding where these people are, how old they are, what they do. Let ChatGPT identify your pattern, the patterns, preferences, and behaviors. And from that, you can create a persona, much more detailed. With Midjourney, you can even put a picture to that person and also communicate it to other departments so they also understand for whom they are actually making things.
What sort of data would you collect then? So say it's someone coming onto your website for the very first time and they're browsing your products. How do you then collect the information to then define those personas?
So yeah, always be, of course, careful with names. All this like, yeah, bits, yeah, personal data I would never put into ChatGPT. It's not that safe. So first of all, I would start talking to someone that was in contact with these people. Usually you have that person in your company that is in sales, that knows the person, and that's just a random guess. So you can go, of course, to your Google Analytics and see where people come from. You also have the analytics tool from LinkedIn, what I mainly use to see where people are located, what their general job description is.
Great.
And then you can get into research of understanding what these people do. And of course, the company that is different.
So it's slightly easier, I would say, with B2B than B2C. Because like LinkedIn is very easy. It's like, okay, this is their seniority, this is where they're located, the industry. And then based on like the industry or their seniority, if they are going to be able to purchase that product or not. With a consumer, it's more emotionally driven, and it's difficult to always gauge, what is driving their decision.
Exactly. I mean, for products, I mean, speaking from my experience for Red Bull, it's very different. You have a shorter sales process than for a B2B setting. However, there's still groups that I wasn't familiar with. You usually get them from other departments as well. They tell you, okay, we have our own way of processing where our consumers come from. They know it also from the sales department or the country offices. And that's when you can get into a more research on ChatGPT to understand who that person is. But that can also come from your sales website. So if you're a smaller company, I believe that you can see your online sales, for example, where these sales were shipped. So you might be surprised that something just sells a lot in the US, and you don't even know the average consumer in the US. So it helps a lot.
That's so interesting, especially with like localizing campaigns for different markets. I think that's a really fascinating topic.
Yeah, that's can help a lot for sure. yeah, also looked into the customer service and how we can help people. Also connected to the topic I had in my master thesis on how, yeah, customer service is getting more mature through AI. I think right now we're around like the third step on the left side, which is still keeping a human in the loop, which still really needs the human in the loop to check the information, since a lot of information is not, it's not correct. And once the AI becomes more mature, saying it will gain confidence, the need for the human oversight is being reduced, and the data and the qualities, the training data will also get better, which will eliminate the inaccuracies, which are still big right now. So yeah, that's, I think, speaking of level 5 here. And on the right side, you see how a general use case could look for the typical consumer service journey. So interaction to final response and the resolution. Of course, this differs for every use case. It's not like for some companies that an off-the-shelf solution could help, but that's very low complexity level, I would say. And also the industry matters here. For my example of the finding a heel fit for men, the industry, I think, deserves needs a little bit more of like customizing. You need to know the people better. You need to know the tone of voice, what you can say. But still, it's not where, for example, financial and health related industries are, which are highly regulated and needs a very customized system. What do I have here? The challenges. I don't want to make too much of a deep dive into this, since I'm not a professional here. But the general challenges that are known is like privacy concerns and trust. Saying, well, as I said, you wouldn't put personal information into ChatGPT. It just gives scammers the perfect ground to work with this information. There is, for example, explainable AI, which helps companies to explain users or customers what happens in the black box. So if you put in information and something comes out, to explain in simple words of what's happening in between. And there's also the right to be forgotten, the GDPR, of deleting personal data. Having your data removed from a database is quite easy. However, removing your data from a machine learning model is quite a challenge. Which most of the companies are, at this stage, not really able.
Do you think they should redact information before training an LLM? Like, should they take out emails? And I know GDPR was all about randomizing. So people basically become anonymous, but you still kind of have your persona data. Do you know, like, do you think that that would be a good solution to sort of take out emails, take out credit card information, all of that side of things?
I believe for the safetyness of the user, it is definitely the right solution to do that, to have users more protected. But that also depends on the use case, I believe. For big, let's say, financial use cases or health use cases, you would definitely need this information. So there's, again, the law making is very difficult, because there are exceptions that need to be taken in mind. That's also the EU AI Act. it's very speculated. Yeah, so much speculation about that one because it hinders so many innovations at one point, but it really keeps
Right.
the user safe. So I have the two camps.
That makes sense.
But yeah, until this EU Act is out there, I think some years will pass. Since for GDPR, it also took like, I think, over 6 years or even longer.
Okay, to get implemented.
Yeah,
I think that was it was successful.
the EU AI Act or the GDPR?
Yeah, the GDPR.
Ooh, I mean, it gives companies a guideline, very strict ones, I believe.
Hmm.
It does work. Yeah, I mean, all of the companies have to use it. You get high fines if you don't do it. However, it makes, I think, innovation harder and also makes it harder to get investors for your company because a
Okay.
lot of investors don't want to deal with the GDPR stuff since it's so complicated and high fines can occur.
Right. That's interesting. Um, and do you think that's why places like Dubai, which is sort of exempt from GDPR, has become a haven for, I don't know, some of these like crypto startups and Web3, and where Web3 marketing sometimes, doesn't always isn't as GDPR compliant. What are your thoughts on that? Maybe that's a um, an assumption that's not completely valid, but what do you think?
Oh, I mean, definitely a big attraction point for a lot of companies
Mm-hmm.
because it makes things easier. You can move forward with way more speeds than in other countries.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of users that are not knowledgeable of these things, these
Mm-hmm.
concerns. Uh,
Sure.
so you can make use of that. And that's an ethical question, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, for the user, most of the time the user is kind of like tapping in the dark and is not too educated to know about uh, yeah the problems that can come up.
Yeah. Amazing.
So
Great.
yeah, if I just wrap it up, all in all, for me, yeah, a generative AI has a potential to reduce costs and also increase our efficiency. I think that's what everyone can agree to that used it at least for once. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and you can just get started by using it for your own workflows and then later discuss how to implement it in a bigger scale.
Mm-hmm.
By discussing the current tech stack you're using. That's always different for every company. So seeing how that fits in, staying ahead of the curve, start now. I mean, it's the easiest way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the professionals, I think they're hard to find. There's, I wouldn't say a real professional in Gen AI. It's always a team that works behind it. You need the creative, you need the business specialist, and the more technical person to, I think, come up with a good solution.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also still getting there.
Great. Who you said you kind of work in AI right now. Could you explain a little bit more about what specifically you're working on, and if you're open for people to work with you, who are your sort of clients that you ideally would work with?
Yeah, so the company I work for, we create, well, how do I say it the easiest way? It's a lot around MLOps. So we make, how do I, I'm just trying to find the right words for it right now.
Of course, yes.
To make processes easier. So in
Okay.
big companies, let's say in big industries, we help them to scale by, for example, making warehouse forecastings to say how much goods they have to purchase.
Okay.
So helping them to scale. Whereas I'm working on the commercial side, where I'm in
Mhm.
contact with the machine learning engineers, and I see what they're doing and try to find new clients for us, since it's a B2B business, and that for me includes a lot of like understanding the VCs, understanding data scientists, understanding machine learning engineers, and catering content to them, the right content they're interested in.
Mhm.
So blog posts that are a bit more technical to something that is more relevant for VCs. Depends.
Yeah, and so how do VCs use your tool typically?
For VCs, it's basically to get an overview of a company they want to invest in.
Okay.
So for them to see if this is a valid company or not that has potential in the future.
Okay.
So we help them with that.
Wow. And so it gives them access also to, you were saying, sort of forecasting data. Is that on the sort of financial side of things for VCs that are interested in, I don't know, the return on investments?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time here today. That was really, really brilliant. I've got a presentation next, which is going to be on generative AI across the marketing funnel.